shotglassdigital.com. Rebel Force Radio is brought to you in part by Little Debbie Snacks, bakers of all galactic goodness, like mini donuts, Star Crunch, cosmic cupcakes, cosmic brownies, nutty bars, and much more. It's all about celebrating your love of a galaxy far, far away, and Little Debbie is the fan's choice for all those sweet moments. Little Debbie, official snack of Rebel Force Radio, Rancho Obi-Wan, and fans around the galaxy.
Rebel Force Radio presents...
Hello, what have we here?
Fangirls Going Rogue.
I met her in a Jedi chat room.
Star Wars news, topics, and conversation from the female point of view.
I like the sound of that.
This is Fangirls Going Rogue.
Teresa, do you think we're going to have our third party here? Do you think Sarah's going to make it after this weekend with all the excitement?
Maybe. It depends on if she's asleep. Because if it were me, I would be asleep.
All right. Well, let's try to loop her in and see if she's here.
Hey, guys.
Oh, you are awake. How are you awake?
I'm awake because they announced a Star Wars land, and I really haven't been able to think of anything else since.
Is it like your fangirl dream?
Yes.
We ask a JediTink.
Yeah, exactly. See, there maybe JediTink will appear because apparently it's immersive like Harry Potter, and you'll be able to walk around in a new planet, and droids and aliens will be walking around you. You'll be able to visit a cantina. I don't know. I'm excited.
Before we jump into all of this, why don't we let everybody know who they're listening to so that they can get just as excited as we are and fangirl flail?
That sounds like a good idea.
So welcome everybody to Fangirls Going Rogue. This is episode 22. And as you can tell, we're going to kick off this show talking about all of the news that came out of D23. And we'll probably talk about the parks for a little bit. So I am Teresa Delgado, one of your hosts. And with me is JediTink, or Sarah Woloski. You just heard her. And Tricia Barr from Fangirls Cantina. I was trying to think of a good name for you, Tricia, because I had said JediTink, and I'm like, well, I don't want to call Tricia Fangirl Cantina. That's weird.
You can call me Fangirl Cantina from Fangirl Blog. You can call me whatever you want to. I'm so excited. This is going to be an amazing episode. I've been following Sarah's Twitter and the Skywalking Through Neverland Twitter all weekend watching D23, and I'm so excited to hear about it. And then this whole episode is amazing. We're going to talk about Force Friday. We have a special interview with Jimmy Mac. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. It was finally, he's been on our list and we got to talk to him. But I think first we really just want to get into it and ask Sarah about D23. And was it as awesome as Celebration? Where does it rank?
Okay, so yeah, usually Star Wars Celebration takes the top cake, but I think D23 Expo pretty much rivaled Star Wars Celebration this year. So I think they're both on the same level for me. And I wish both events were every year, but unfortunately they're both like every other year.
But that's good for money.
Yeah, I suppose, but it's not good for crowds.
True, but they also didn't own Star Wars the last time they did D23. So I don't think that they were prepared for what would come. And if you buy Star Wars, they will come.
It's true.
Well, the Star Wars land stuff was so enormous, the announcement itself, that they had to do it over essentially 2 different panels, right?
Yes. Okay. So the Marvel, or everyone called it the Marvel live action panel for some reason, but it was, obviously the Lucasfilm, Marvel, and Disney live action panel was Saturday morning at 10:30 a.m. And there was rumors that this was going to be, the most popular panel. So we got up at 3 a.m., hiked it over to that convention center, and we're in the Hall H queue by 4:20 a.m. And if you weren't there by 6 a.m., it was not guaranteed that you were getting in. Like that's how crazy it was. So that was the big surprise, because we're expecting all the live action movie news, but then at the end, I think our consensus was, because they didn't show any new footage from The Force Awakens or Rogue One, that they had to end the panel with a big bang. J.J. Abrams was there, so they decided to announce Star Wars Land at that panel.
Well, but the coolest thing I saw, obviously the immersive part, I feel like probably the Imagineers have been walking around the wizarding world, knowing that that's their high bar. And this makes sense to me now. You know, a lot of people were really upset them saying that we weren't going to see Jedi Mickey and all those type of crossover characters are going to be gone. But if you're doing an immersive experience, you're not going to see Disney characters in Star Wars Land. You're literally going to be interacting with aliens. I imagine some of the stuff that I saw going on at Star Wars Weekends will happen, where there were troopers that were arresting Sabine and Ezra. So it's going to be more like you're really in this place. But fly the Millennium Falcon, anybody?
Yeah. Sign me up, and there's going to be a 6-hour line.
Well, let's start breaking this down. So let's talk about Star Wars Land. There's maybe some people, I don't know how they don't know, but they may not know what exactly is happening. So Sarah, do you want to break it down for us? Let's just go bullet point with the park news.
Sure thing. So Star Wars Land, well, first of all, it's going to be at both parks, Disneyland and Disney World, which huge rounds of applause in that audience when that was announced, because that was a big question. Now, it's going to be a 14-acre, totally immersive world. And yeah, so like you said, aliens and droids will be around you. And then there's going to be 2 rides, including a Millennium Falcon experience. Yeah, they were short on details, but then let's see, there will be a cantina. That was confirmed as well.
Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. They said, yes, 14 acres. But one of the things, a key word that I picked up on, is they said a 14-acre expansion. Mm-hmm. Okay. This does not, when Disney says expansion, they do not mean refurbish or repurpose. They mean expansion.
Right.
So I went and did some research. I pulled up Disney World and I'm looking at studios. And I'm saying, okay, the expansion for Star Wars, there is a back road side entrance that you can come in off of one of the highways to Hollywood Studios. One of 2 things is going to happen. They're either going to shut down that back entrance and create another entrance, or they're going to have a creative way to transport people from current Hollywood Studios across that road to Star Wars Land. On the other side of that road is nothing but acre after acre of undeveloped trees and dirt.
Wow.
So there is more than 14 acres for them to go back into to create Star Wars Land. And I believe it is going to be over there, because they said expansion. Me and my husband have been talking about this, and he's dead set on that they will also build a hotel, even though they haven't announced it, that is kind of similar to the Grand Californian, where it's sort of connected to the park.
Right.
That's a Star Wars-themed hotel that keeps you in the immersion of Star Wars, because it's connected to the Star Wars Land part of Hollywood Studios. I could actually see that happening. Now, as far as Disneyland, I have no idea where it's going to go.
Yeah, actually, the Twitter account for Disneyland Today actually confirmed that it will be in the Big Thunder Ranch area and then expanding out to backstage areas behind that. So Toontown will not be touched.
So that would mean that everything that's backstage over there would be going possibly to the new area that they just bought.
Exactly.
Across the street?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Including, I believe, the Circle D Ranch.
Yeah, the horses are going to get relocated.
Mm-hmm. They're going to have to be transported now. Actually.
Interesting.
Or will be in 20 whatever. I know I think it's not scheduled to begin, like the expansion, until 2017.
I'm also, but we will get early on here a little bit different in Star Tours, so that'll be coming soon. Yeah.
And Hyperspace Mountain.
Yes, and that's only
Disneyland. Don't even talk to me about that.
It is only in Disneyland.
You and your stinking
My Disneyland. Well, you gotta come on down, and Hyperspace Mountain is going to be like you're flying through hyperspace. Obviously, Hyperspace Mountain. I just put that together. Anyway, and you're gonna no, it did, but the way but you're gonna have like the Star Wars music playing, and I believe like if you've ever been to Space Mountain Ghost Galaxy, there's like
I love it when that happens. It's so scary.
There's like there's projections of the ghost's hands and stuff following you. I think that's where you're gonna see like TIE fighters that you're gonna be shooting at from your cars, or so it's gonna be super fun, and that line's just gonna get even longer.
It'd be even better if they put little, you could shoot yourself.
Yes.
But, maybe someday.
Maybe they'll put like an overlay so it looks like you actually have controls, but you won't have control,
Well, and for anybody who's going, oh my God, I don't like this, I hate this, they're changing what it's supposed to be. It's only during Season of the Force, okay?
Yes.
It's only during Season of the Force. It's not that way all year round, although it's going to be there for Season of the Force, and then that'll probably last long enough to change into the Ghost Galaxy overlay. So there's really maybe only going to be about a month or two where Space Mountain's normal. But,
There you go. And then we forgot one of the biggest things. Star Tours will be updated with a new planet from The Force Awakens.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Get to experience the movie a little bit early here, so that'll be exciting. At least
and we don't know a lot about this new Season of the Force, but I mean, what I've gathered from it is that it's basically Star Wars Weekends on steroids. And there's going to be a really cool thing there called Star Wars Launch Bay, which is going to be kind of like a Star Wars museum. And there's going to be artifacts and costumes and things that you can look at, and interactive experiences, getting to play the games like Disney Infinity and Battlefront. And all kinds of really cool stuff. So I'm really looking forward to what that is, how long that lasts.
Right.
And more information about Season of the Force, because we really don't know much about it other than...
That's right. And hardly any dates were announced, like affirmative dates.
So. Yeah, there was like... nothing.
Yeah, just that things are coming. Things are coming. And so what else at the movie panel, which we got sidetracked by all the parks information, but what else at the movie panel, because it was a movie panel,
right? I know. So we got the first cast photo from Rogue One, and Felicity Jones is there front and center. It's clear that she is in charge of this gang.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It rocks. I love the dark tones and kind of like the very Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan sort of look of it. I'm like, yeah.
There was a lot of difference between this cast photo and the episode 7 cast photo, which was them in civilian clothes. Obviously, this one, I mean, they've barely been shooting, and we get to see, their gadgets and gizmos and their costumes and what they're wearing and their weapons and what they look like. So that was really exciting. There was one similarity in the announcement between the two, was that it was really lacking in diversity as far as genders. So that was my one disappointment. We are going through the Smurfette syndrome, which is something that people have been critical of Star Wars already on. And I would think there could be more women involved, but I love the diversity of it. I've talked about this with other people. When there's only one female character that's in an important role, then everybody's hopes and dreams are set on that one character, that they will fulfill it. And so that sort of struck me as there was on all those names listed that there wasn't somebody else that.
I think it's going to be the same as how we got with episode 7. It's going to be a slow rollout. So they're going to show that, give Felicity Jones her time in the limelight, for people to get really excited about her. And then they'll start introducing some other characters.
They listed the cast beyond those 5. There were a lot of men that they could have listed other people if there were women involved. And I don't think that we're going to see a lot more people added to the cast.
I totally understand where you're coming from with that, Tricia. And, I even said something yesterday when I was recording the Star Wars Report about it. But for me personally, this is, I know that we battle for this kind of stuff. But for me personally, it's not really something that bothers me that much. I'm just really excited about what we're getting, rather than choosing to be kind of bothered. But I can totally see why other people are. But for me, I saw initially, my initial reaction, my reaction of, oh, there's not more girls, came later. But my initial reaction was, that's awesome looking. She looks great, you know?
Yeah, I'm more with you, Teresa. I like when they said that Rogue One would be a war movie, I'm like, I don't know. You know, like those kind of movies don't really interest me at all. But then I saw this photo and you see a woman front and center, like obviously leading this group, and I was all in. So that's how I saw it as. But I think everyone will have different opinions, of course, and only time will tell.
Absolutely.
So let's see, what else? Okay, we got episode 9 director news, and I'm really excited about this. Tricia, I don't know if you are, but Colin Trevorrow, who directed Jurassic World, is going to be doing episode 9. I couldn't be more excited. I loved Jurassic World. I thought it was great, and I really can't wait for it. And I'm going to be the one looking for the Easter egg of a tiny like raptor toy somewhere in episode 9.
The one saving grace for me is I'm not excited about Doctor at all. I think he did a horrible job with the characters. I think in 5 years from now, people will be going, that movie was way overrated. Why did we all go to? As a matter of fact, I joke because everybody in office would come in and say, did you see Jurassic Park? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, I went because everybody was talking about it and I didn't like it. So, you know, the one thing that Star Wars has not done well yet, other than Ahsoka Tano's story, is conclude the female characters' arcs. And he had a really weak showing on that in Jurassic World. So my one saving grace is it did not say he was writing the episode. It said he was directing the episode. And so I'm hoping that we get someone who will do a little bit better than his writing was on that regard. And I know he talked a lot of game about strong female characters before the movie came out, but he did not deliver it. The dinosaurs are cool, but the everything about the story and the characters was just, it's literally was a nightmare. And if Rey is supposed to be the lead, the hero, and he's concluding it, that concerns me. And that's how that's where Star Wars has not stepped up. It hasn't finished the game, and Ahsoka only got a great arc ending because of they lucked out and Disney bought and said, we gotta end the show.
Well, speaking from in the room, Bob Iger, when he announced that Colin Trevorrow was going to direct, you could almost see him rubbing his fingers together like money, money, money. Because he made so much money with Jurassic World. So anyway, that's what I got from being in the room.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell. But, the one thing that I can say is that they're allowing a lot of different people to play in the Star Wars sandbox, and that excites me more than anything else, because that means that we get different perspectives and we get all kinds of new ideas and things that we haven't really had before.
There you go. Well, there was a bit more Star Wars news at the Expo, and I was in the Disney Interactive panel when they showed, or they debuted, Rey and Finn would be characters for Disney Infinity, for the Disney Infinity Force Awakens playset, and they are so adorable.
Did you see the Daisy Ridley's Instagram of her with her character?
It was so cute.
Instagram, look at tiny Rey. She's so cute and cool.
Daisy Ridley, like, I have a girl crush on Daisy Ridley because she is so adorable. Like, everything she does is very prim and it's very proper and very posh, yet so cute. But yeah, her video on Instagram, Tricia, like you tweeted it, I think, and then that's how I found it, or somebody did.
Okay, what is her Instagram? What's her Instagram?
Daisy Ridley. I'm glad she's back on social media. She was on Twitter, and then that didn't go so well, and I could understand that. Instagram might be a safer kind of social media because you can put something up and not necessarily know that anybody's ever responded to you unless you want to look. But it's not like Twitter where every time someone @s you, you get dinged and you have to see it in your notifications. But at least we'll get to see. She seems like a totally fun, down to earth person, and of course, she got a little excited about having a Rey little action figure, which I think is adorable.
Yeah, I would.
Well, and so I didn't realize this, but Lupita Nyong'o is in 2 Disney films coming up.
Three.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Jungle Book,
The Queen of Katwe.
Yes.
What is that?
And then The Force. It's a movie that's set in, I think, Uganda. It's one of the African nations, and it's set there, and she plays a woman, or almost a child, who starts playing chess and then finds out she's actually a ringer. Like, she's really good at it. And
I didn't even know about this movie.
Was it with David? Is it with David Oyelowo?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, because what did J.J. Abrams jokes? She's contractually obligated to be in every Disney movie or something like that.
She came out like 3 times. We're like, well, she's going to come out for The Force Awakens because she's back there.
And I will talk about, because we see a lot of staging of how they bring out, they brought out Daisy Ridley, they brought out Lupita, then they brought out John and Oscar, after that. So I thought that was really awesome.
I thought of you, Tricia.
Yes, you did, probably. Staging. And J.J. Abrams is a master of staging, too. He likes it. And then they, of course, brought Harrison out.
I loved what they did to reveal him, because they revealed the Drew Struzan poster.
I know the fans of Star Wars, you know the name Drew Struzan. And he's an amazing artist, and he designed all the posters for the Star Wars movies. And apparently he's designed an exclusive D23 poster. Yeah. You know what I'm going to just throw in there? I think you guys can get 1 each. I think you're all going to get one.
And that is great. A free poster is always cool, but the weird thing for me is that there's one person in the poster who's not on stage. You want to see it? Ladies and gentlemen, Harrison Ford!
Before he finished the sentence, we were on our feet screaming because we knew it would be Harrison Ford coming out. and he came out, and we're like, oh my God,
Well, that poster is beautiful. Did you get a copy of it?
Okay, yes. We got the smaller copy that they gave out when you left the theater, and then Richard managed to snag one of the larger actual poster size ones that were being printed out at the Force for Change booth.
Nice.
Yes, and unless you were at that booth between 10 and 10:05 a.m. and got like a ticket to come back later and grab yours, you weren't getting one. So
nice.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
It's a beautiful poster. It's definitely really good. And I love the way that's how people learn that Finn is holding the lightsaber.
Yeah.
So it's the first blue lightsaber we've seen active in anything. Sure. And then Rey is actually straddling the light and the dark side of the poster. So that was interesting for those people that are into artwork and it's saying things. So.
Yeah, and there's all these people speculating all kinds of stuff. And Tricia, I figured this might be a topic on hyperspace theories.
Oh, it will be. Don't worry.
And I was like, I was looking at it going, this poster tells us nothing. Everybody chill out. It tells us nothing. It has no words.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he used something.
It's something. I remember on Hyperspace Theories after San Diego Comic-Con, Richard noticed that all the Imperial sets were lit in blue. So, or First Order. Yeah, First Order. I can't say Imperial now. What are they? They're part of Imperial
the First
something.
Order? First Order?
Yeah.
First Order.
First Order, yeah. I know, but I'm trying to think. Are they, can we call them Imperial or are they just First Order? No, they're First Order.
All right. Well, you can't go to a convention, D23 Expo, without chatting with Ashley Eckstein. So Richard and I got to chat with her, and she actually revealed a few details about her new Force Awakens, her Universe collection coming out. So you guys want to hear a little bit of that?
Yes.
All right.
Well, let's see. We have a Yoda yoga outfit that's coming out soon.
What? I may have to pick up yoga.
Yes. But you could also, it's just super cute. You could wear it, running errands. So definitely some more activewear to come next year and more fashion. I mean, we still have only scratched the surface with fashion because we may or may not be designing a fashion collection around episode 7.
What? And when may or may not, with this may or may not come out soon.
Well, we definitely have episode 7 designs coming out before the end of the year, starting in early September, but then also throughout the holidays. Have an awesome BB-8 jacket and BB-8 dress coming out. But a bigger fashion collection will come out in early 2016. So look for a lot more. I will say I'm excited to say we have a Star Wars holiday collection coming out at Hot Topic and Torrid. So beautiful sweaters, holiday dresses, lots of fun stuff coming out.
All right. Well, thank you, Ashley. And we love to connect with you and see you again here.
Thank you so much. Thanks for chatting.
I read this and I just about fell off the couch. I'm like, yes!
I know. I'm excited. So we have a bomber jacket to go with our BB-8 dresses.
That is so awesome. It was so funny because I had mine on Saturday, and then I looked at your tweets and I was like, she's wearing the BB-8 dress.
I want the BB-8 dress.
It is very, very comfortable, and the leggings are really awesome.
I know, it's so cute. Oh. Well, I couldn't leave Ashley without doing a fangirl flail with our fangirl friend. So here it is.
It's the end of the D23 Expo. I'm here with Ashley Eckstein. So excited, and we have to do one thing before it's all over. Ready? Fangirl flail!
Yay!
All right. Richard and I had such an awesome time at D23 Expo, and we ended up interviewing Kevin Kiner, who of course is the composer for Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars The Clone Wars. We interviewed a Disney music historian and several Disney Imagineers. And of course, there's more interview of Ashley Eckstein. So just head on over to Skywalking Through Neverland in the next couple of weeks, because that's where we'll be having all of this D23 Expo rollout. It's going to be super exciting.
I'm ready to listen to all that. So I can't wait till it goes up.
Awesome.
Totally. And then also, if you want more D23 coverage, you can actually listen to Disney Vault Talk here in the next week or so, because we have 2 reports coming from 2 correspondents that were there for Disney Vault Talk, talking all things D23. So you can be looking for that on the Disney Vault Talk feed.
Woohoo!
Yay!
So, hey, what are you doing for Force Friday?
All right, so I am super excited about this. Richard and I were trying to figure out what to do. Should we go to Walmart? Should we go to Target? Whatever. But we got an email in our inbox, and it was DK Publishing, and we were invited to go to the Mysterious Galaxy bookstore in San Diego. And this is going to be actually not Force Friday, but the Thursday. So September 3rd from 9:30 p.m. to midnight. We're going to be moderating at the DK Publishing's kickoff event for their Star Wars Absolutely Everything You Need to Know book tour. Say that 5 times fast. And so 3 of the authors, Adam Bray, Cole Horton, and Michael Kogi, will be there. And we've been asked to moderate a Q&A with them, along with Cecil Castellucci, who is also debuting her A Princess Leia Adventure book. So we're super excited. There's going to be family-friendly trivia, giveaways, and of course the Q&A. And I just couldn't be more excited.
Yay!
That's so awesome. Give Cole a big high five for me.
I will. Yeah. And actually, all 3 of the authors, it turns out, had recommended us to DK Publishing. So I just want to give them a big thank you and a shout out.
That's awesome.
Yay.
Living in California is cool.
It is. I like it. Maybe more expensive.
Except for when you like living in Texas.
Yeah.
When El Nino comes, just wait. when she's swimming to report.
Yeah, when California breaks off of the United States and you're floating out there on your island, let us know how that is.
I will. And of course, land will be even more expensive then.
Yeah.
Just because.
And then you have to take a ferry back over to the mainland.
There you go.
I am probably going to be covering a Target store as part of the Jedi News team. We have several people from Jedi News that are going to be going to Toys R Us, as well as some other places, and we did not have anybody attending a Target, so I will most likely be covering a Target store for the team.
So you'll be able to check out how they've changed maybe the way they're laying it out?
That, and it's just, we want to get a feel for how all the different retailers are approaching Force Friday. So we have somebody going to Walmart's, we have people going to Toys R Us, so and then Target was open, and I was like, I can do Target. So Force Friday is coming. Oh my gosh, we've got so much stuff. Aftermath is coming, new Legos, new action figures, so many books. Probably the one I'm looking forward to the most is Lost Stars. I'm all down for a true YA Star Wars book. You have no idea.
Yeah, I've read Claudia Gray's other stuff. She's a good writer. I think we'll enjoy it. And that's actually something like 500 pages.
Yeah, it's a huge,
ridiculous
Harry Potter novel. I'm so excited.
We haven't had a good, hefty Star Wars novel in a while. I mean, this thing's going to be one of those ones that you're going to have to, lug around or maybe get on your Kindle or Nook.
This is a big paperweight, but can't wait. So on this show, we wanted to focus on feedback a little bit. We do have some other things in store for you, but we wanted to focus on feedback. And so we have picked out some things that we've gotten. We get lots of feedback. And unfortunately, with a monthly show, we can't really address it all. So we kind of save it for when we have some time to. And so for the month of August, we do. So we're going to jump into some emails and some other things that we've gotten from you guys and kind of address some of this stuff.
Shout it out to the social media from Teresa and Tricia and Sarah. Shout it out, fangirl shout outs.
So I'm going to jump into this first one. It's an email from Joshua Sosa, and he says, my name is Joshua, and I am a relatively new listener to your podcast, having started with your episode before Celebration where I saw Teresa while waiting in line to get my Tia Sircar autographs Sunday. Oh, hello. I think your show is very fun and personal, a trait I've only found in the Forcecast and RebelForce Radio, so please keep it up. I do look forward to each episode. Now to the point of my email. We all saw this Rebels premiere yesterday, and by the end we see Vader learn of Ahsoka's survival and perhaps her awareness of who he may be. The StarWars.com inside the episode has Dave Filoni commenting that Vader's Jedi hit list would have Obi-Wan first, then Yoda, and Ahsoka fighting for second place. Essentially, I want to know how you ladies feel about Vader's feelings on the past. We know as well that when he comments on the past, Vader always does so in third person, and this Rebels episode is no different, saying, so the Padawan lives, or the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker lives. This is all to say that Ahsoka is not someone he must destroy because Vader views her as the ugliness of the Jedi, but rather that she was his shining jewel in his past life, and like Palpatine makes him do in Lord, is that LOTS or an acronym? I think it's LOTS. Vader must sever all ties to his past self to become the Sith that he is striving to become. So in his opinion, in Josh's opinion, he says Vader's Jedi hit list would be Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka Tano, and then Master Yoda. If for nothing else, he is the symbol of the Jedi. But what are your thoughts on this, and how do you feel about those few moments in this premiere where we saw the Vader-Ahsoka connection? I've never actually thought about what Vader's hit list would be. Have you?
I think Vader operates on what's right in front of him, so he doesn't always see the long end or gain or loss necessarily on the bigger picture. So it might just be what's pressing him at the moment, what's pushing his button, so to speak. And it might be what Palpatine wants to be pushing that button as well. So I've always thought that although we see him do a lot of manipulative things in the movies, he is very smart. He is a tactician. But when it gets right down to base level reactions, that Vader and Anakin both can be reactionary, not always to the best. A lot of times that helped him be a hero, but I think sometimes that could hurt him. But he's a flawed person. I think I think Obi-Wan would not be on his list for a long time because he lost to him and it cost him a lot. So I know that Obi-Wan would be someone he would think a lot about fighting, but I don't necessarily think he'd be number one on his list. That's me. That's just the way I think about it. But you know what? Dave Filoni knows what he's talking about. So
yeah, for me, I don't feel like Vader has any particular person on his hit list. I think it's whatever is the most dangerous situation at the time in front of him. So that could be, Imperial that's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. It could be Ahsoka. It could be Master Yoda. Honestly, I don't think he thinks about Master Yoda hardly ever.
That's what I was, when I was thinking about this question, I was like, I don't even think he's on the radar. Well, and he might not be just because Yoda might actually be able to, it's like knowing you're doing something and going to see your teacher from a long time ago. And it's intimidating even when you're 40 years old to see a teacher because you're still afraid of them. I don't know why, even though you're a peer, but I don't know why. I just think that Yoda wouldn't necessarily be something that he would be out to get or that even knows he's still alive.
I think right now his hit list is Kanan Hera and the Rebels crew.
Right. Well, if anything, now once he's felt Ahsoka and knows she's around, he might be thinking of a way to use her to get to the big hornet's nest of rebels. You know what I mean?
Do you think he might try to think he could get her to come? She's already walked to the Jedi. Yeah, I mean, she already turned her back on the Jedi, which I think in some ways helped to convince Anakin that the Jedi weren't right either. In some way, so you see him in Return of the Jedi try to get Luke to come over to his side. So why wouldn't he first? He's still ultimately, I think the top of his hit list is Palpatine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
Isn't that always the
way of the Sith.
Well, that's what he wanted to Padme, we can defeat Palpatine and rule the universe and make everything right. And then we see him do it with Luke. So I can't imagine where he wouldn't try to get Ahsoka to join him. We would be unstoppable. We can defeat Palpatine and bring the universe back. I could totally see him going there with her, and especially after Return of the Jedi. So that's I don't think he was lying to Luke. That's part of the things about Sith is they're actually pretty truthful generally about stuff. When he was like,
they don't really lie.
Yeah, when he's like, come and join me, he's really wants him to come. This could be my chance because. Once all the limbs came flying off, he wasn't as powerful as he would like to be to go up against Palpatine. He couldn't display enough Force lightning or something, but I don't know. And from the Mortis trilogy, I don't know how real that is in their whole thing, but we've seen Ahsoka go to the dark side. So, in his mind, maybe she has that possibility of going there.
And actually, she was a lot like Disgust.
Yeah, she was.
Dark side.
She had that.
I literally just watched that episode this morning.
She had that.
She had that like evil grin, like that flippant way. Anyway,
now we're going to define everybody by let's see, anger,
inside out characters. Yeah,
Darth Vader is just angry all the time.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Joshua. That was an excellent question. I actually I thought about that today while we were preparing when I should have been working.
Maintaining those traffic lights.
That's right. So the email that I picked was from Adrian. Adrian asks, what if Sabine's parents aren't dead as implied when she said they were lost or taken? It says, I forget what she said exactly and I haven't bought the Blu-rays yet. What if they joined up with the Empire? That would be a better twist, my girlfriend thinks, and explains a lot about her characterization thus far. They could have been conscripted or even joined willingly to train stormtroopers or special ops or something. They are Mandos. What do you think? So now we have the answer. So that's what Adrian thinks. So now you have to pick what you think.
Okay, well, for me, this borders right there on the edge of speculation of what's going to happen on this show. So I haven't ever thought of this. I've just taken what you said, straight and just said, okay. So I guess my answer is could be any of those. Don't know.
That's a cop-out answer, but that's okay.
I really don't want to think about it. See, that's the thing. Once I start thinking about things, and Tricia, you know this about me. Once I start thinking about something, I go all over the place and I create like crazy whacked out scenarios of like things that could happen. And then when they don't happen, I get all bummed. So
she writes fanfic in her head, and then when it doesn't happen, she's disappointed. Like the rest of us. What would you imagine if you were imagining her? What would you imagine for her? Because you've said you
I was writing her story.
If you said you want to know more about Sabine, you didn't get enough about Sabine. So let's just not say it's not what you think's going to be in the story. It's just what you were thinking about her. What would you imagine?
So when I think of her character, like the immediate thing I get is that she witnessed something really terrible. I think that she was maybe going through, for me, she was going into the academy very much like Zara Leonis and that kind of thing. And then something happened that the Empire did and it affected her family. Whether that be that maybe she crossed a line she wasn't supposed to, or maybe they were working for the Empire or something, and then something really tragic happened. But that's as far as it goes. I don't know what it would be because I'm excited to find out what it would be.
Well, building on that, I think it has something to do with the fact that she's so good at explosives. So maybe whatever happened that she witnessed had to do with something with explosives that she messed up on. Maybe.
Oh, what if she killed?
Yeah.
See, and this is where it starts. You just did it to me again. What if she was doing something for the Empire they had her do, and she messed it up, and she killed her own family?
You know what you're doing, Teresa? This is like a round robin.
This is why I'm not
round
on
robin fanfic.
It's a round robin what?
Fanfic. Yeah. You start with someone starts a story, and then you keep building, and something horrible. Sarah now said something horrible happened. It was an explosive accident. And then I would say, and perhaps when she was making this explosive, she was all in on the Empire. She was into their mindset. And then when this happened, it just totally changed everything. She lost everything in this terrible explosion.
She killed her own family.
See? That was bad.
Wow.
Oh my God. And what if they made her do it? And then what if they didn't even let her mourn her family and they tried to just make her go into training on some other planet, and she ran away and she took everything she had with her, which was like a hodgepodge set of armor, and she stole a helmet from people and she ran away, and then she ran into the rebels when she was running away.
Well, see, there you go. So,
and she lost her dog. She had a dog, and she lost it.
Do they have dogs in Star Wars? They have ducks. She lost her duck.
You can pretty much have any type of creature in Star Wars, but whatever you want. Okay, so
escaped. Oh, no, she didn't run into them when she was running away. Hera and Kanan were on Mandalore doing something, and she saw their ship, and she snuck on. She's a stowaway.
Maybe maybe she was getting tried for the murder of her parents. She screwed up.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh.
So,
and then she lost her dog.
Well, we do know from talking to Tia that we will learn a little bit about her past. So on this season 2, which I'm really excited for. Is it September yet? I hope it starts in September, but
not yet.
Oh well. Anyway, and then I wanted to make sure to do the second part of her question because I know Sarah can answer this a little bit from this weekend's tweets. I saw what she was doing. So she says, your comments about gender of the Jedi in the kid training got me curious. Has that been an issue in general for that attraction? And we're talking about the Jedi Training Academy at Disney. And then back in November 2010, when I took my nephew to get trained, there were no men at all except for Vader, Maul, and the Stormtroopers, presumably, but you never know. Were they just randomizing the Jedi throughout the year, but directed to use only male Jedi for special events like Star Wars weekends? And then, so anyway, that's the question.
Okay.
How it was. And I know, Sarah, you got to see.
Yes. Okay. So first of all, I wonder if she's talking about Walt Disney World or Disneyland, because as we learned last time when we were all talking, Disney World has used female Jedi Masters for a while, right?
Yes.
Okay. So at Disneyland, however, yes, there have been female Jedi, but the Jedi Master, the one who leads everything, the one who talks, has always been male until this year. And so this year is when there was a female Jedi Master when I was there today, when I was there on Sunday for our Friends of the Magic Disney podcaster meetup. And Richard Woloski and one of our podcasting listeners actually infiltrated the Jedi Training Academy because you're not supposed to be able to do it unless you're under 12 years old. So one of our listeners, he happens to be blind, and we requested special assistance and everything. So Richard helped him. He was his guide, and he got to fight Darth Maul and be in the Jedi Training Academy. So that was pretty exciting for both of them.
Did he whack him in half?
Yeah, he tried. So female, so that's the distinction. There have been female Jedi, but a female Jedi Master at Disneyland is a new thing, and it's exciting.
And I think that part of it's just a default in the way people thought about Jedi. Yes. There weren't a lot of the masters in, we have a few in the movies of Jedi Knights that we see, but you don't see a lot of them in positions of authority, really having the main roles. And that's sort of a default. I actually got to talk to one of the stunt women who has been Marianne in the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular, who is now converting over to being a Jedi Master at Jedi Training Academy. So they're trying to change it up a little bit. You see, people of color, different colors, different races, different genders. They're all mixing it up. So, it's a nice different. So, and that it's nice because, we've talked about this from the beginning, even, with the cast photo, we like to see different types of people in Star Wars. So this helps that's part of their face, their brand. That Jedi Training Academy is one of the most visible ways people will be introduced to the world of Star Wars for young children. So it's nice to see all types of people up there in charge. Yeah.
At this point, I would like to bring up the fact I have been rewatching the Clone Wars with my husband Richard, and now, having just watched the first season of Star Wars Rebels, it's really interesting to see the way women or females are portrayed in both series. In the Clone Wars, especially in the first two seasons, the females are all very scantily clad. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. And now you look at Star Wars Rebels and everyone's all buttoned up. Like, there's no really distinction between the outfits. I can't think of any scantily clad females in Star Wars Rebels. So I think, Star Wars fandom has kind of really evolved.
Well, Ashley Eckstein was actually part of the original discussion after the first two seasons about the tube top. She actually enabled the conversation where people were like, what I think personally is anybody who draws women for animation or covers should have to have their hair, try to fight with their hair down and fight with a tube top, because they'll end up with their tube top at their belly button with probably their beer belly hanging out and their hair all on their face, and they'll miss everything. Because I always argue with people about the hair down and the ridiculous tops, or even like low cut stuff. I'm not big boob girl, but let me tell you, if you start swinging, things start flying up and out, and it's just not right, especially if you're doing backflips or anything like that. So, the animation that always bothered me, because I'm like, that tube top just isn't, unless she's using the Force, she'd have like yes, between season 2 and 3. As a matter of fact, I made a point when I did Ahsoka's page for Ultimate Star Wars. I said, whatever you do, don't use the 1 or 2 first or second season Ahsoka as your primary image, because a lot of people were not comfortable with it. And I think that obviously the second and third gen Ahsoka are much better anyway, just artistically, but the costume is much better too. So yeah, just thinking about it. Yes. I mean, everything between seasons 1 and 2. So you're what, in 3 if you just saw Mortis, right?
Yeah, I'm in 3.
It's when they finally started telling a story and making things a little more cohesive. So,
right, getting into the Force lore and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did have another email from our good friend Chickafant, and he wanted to offer a suggestion for a future discussion for us. This is what he writes. Since you are all about the power and fun of being a fangirl, I know you are all-inclusive. Heck, you let a stuffed chicken join the fun. I was wondering, who do you consider some of the most influential females involved in making Star Wars as great as it is? They could be involved in the process of actually creating Star Wars or involved in the fandom, possibly even involved in both. When my parents and I started to think about this, Carrie Fisher, Kathleen Kennedy, Ashley Eckstein, Mary Franklin, Vanessa Marshall, Bonnie Burton, A.C. Crispin, Catherine Tabor, Trisha Bigger, Katie Lucas, Karen Travis, and of course the trio from Fangirls Going Rogue came to mind. Who would you include in this list and why?
Oh, first of all, putting the 3 of us in a list with all of those other people.
Wow.
As flattered as I am, I think we should be over here. Because, I mean, we're doing a great thing. I mean, you know, with everything for our show, but I do not personally, this is nothing against you guys. I personally do not feel like I belong in that list with all those other people.
Well, you know,
but that's just my own opinion about myself.
Part of being women is being proud of the part that you do contribute for something. We don't always take enough credit for things, so maybe you should feel like.
Well, you know, I think I love what we do, and I think what we do is really great. I think what all of these other women have done for Star Wars is so big, and somebody that I would actually add to that list is Andy Gutierrez. She's doing amazing things, and the fact that it's a girl as the face of Rebels Recon. No, we haven't ever really commented on this, but it blows me away that it's her, you know, and she's of ethnic descent. She knows her Star Wars stuff. She's very knowledgeable. She can hang in there with anybody and everybody that she interviews. And I realize she works with all these people on a day-to-day basis, but still, you know, and the fact that she gets to do these sort of segments that sort of highlight, you know, women and without highlighting women, I just think it's really cool. So I would add her to that list, and I am flattered that you would put all 3 of us on there. Mm-hmm. I would gladly say, Tricia, you belong there with all of your author ring and stuff. And Sarah, you belong there because you're just amazing. And so that's it. I'm taking myself off the list.
No. Teresa, you don't realize how important the things just speaking up and being part of the fandom and being loud and proud, even fangirl flailing makes a difference.
That's true. You know what? You guys started the hashtag fangirl flail, and look how that has caught on like wildfire.
I know. I check the hashtag sometimes, and I'm like amazed at who uses it. So anyway, Sarah, who do you have on? Do you have more people on your list? Anyone that stands out?
Well, if you think about it, I mean, Star Wars is, you know, it's promoted. It lives with fans. And so I think, you know, a lot of female podcasters or writers or bloggers or anything like that, they all contribute to being Star Wars or being involved in Star Wars. And I mean, if you think about it, a lot of female fans really, they're involved artistically a lot. So like you get crafts or you get food, you know, like Just Jen. She creates those Star Wars cookies, or, you know, it's like a whole different part of fandom and aspect of fandom that it's not necessarily part of canon or part of the movies, but it's a special part that we can share together as fans.
Exactly. And, you know, there's not all those names on there. Every single one of those people is absolutely amazing. Obviously, Ashley has a special place in all our hearts because she stood up for women and created merchandise, which allows us to be what I call a passive fan, where you can just walk around and somebody will know you're a fan, because otherwise we would have to say we were a fan. So now we can just be a fan. Carrie Fisher, who was lobbying for the character when they were making the movie, and she continued to lobby. She's talked about since then that she wasn't going to do the movie because she felt like she needed to be, if it wasn't going to be who she thought that Leia was going to be, she wasn't going to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. So she made them elevate their game on what Leia's story was going to be going forward. Kathleen Kennedy, I think in years to come, we will all, I already think she's an amazing one, but I think there's even more stuff. There's Jen Heddle, who works on the books, who's been ambassador for Leia. We have Diana Williams, which you guys might not be as familiar with. She's in the story group. If you check out her Twitter feed, she's always lobbying for diversity and for people of color and women and gender equality. Rain Roberts, who we've seen on the Rebels Recons talk about. She works on the Rebels team. She's also in the story group. Kiri Hart, who's the head of story, who I think will be essentially like the Kevin Feige of Star Wars. And then Tracy Canobio. We cannot forget that how much she has done for the Clone Wars fans and for Star Wars Rebels fans. Bloggers like Club Jade, Dunk at Club Jade. We have Amy Ratcliffe, all the Jaders who kept Star Wars going over the years, just reading the books and being part of it. Jonah Marie Macias, who is like the nicest, Macias, who's like the nicest person. Amy Beth Christensen, who won the Her Universe contest and who's been animating in Star Wars forever in the video games and now Star Wars Rebels. You know, so they're just like this list of people. And then I think in going forward, we'll be able to say, you know, Daisy Ridley's and Gwendolyn Christie's and all those people. I think there's going to be like a crazy list in the future.
How exciting.
So Chica fan, thank you.
You've served your purpose.
Well, we finally have sort of what I would call our maker on Fangirls Going Rogue, the one and only Jimmy Mack. So, Jimmy, how are you doing? You are finally an honorary fangirl.
Oh, I know. You know what? Actually, I must say, Ashley Eckstein made me an honorary fangirl a few years ago.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, we did it over cupcakes. And it was a fabulous experience. But no, to be on Fangirls Going Rogue, now this fangirl actually has something to do with his time. So I'm gonna go rogue with you guys for a little while.
It's the only way to go, fangirl.
Yeah, absolutely. But I gotta say, despite the fact Ashley did make me an honorary fangirl, I know you find this hard to believe, not a fangirl. So that's why I'm so happy to have you guys as part of RebelForce Radio, because for the longest time, me and Jason always wanted to have a show hosted by fangirls and targeted towards fangirls. And, you guys do much more than that. You appeal to all Star Wars fans, but you do have that edge. And we wanted to make it happen for so long. And finding you guys, putting you guys together, it's just been magic. We got what we've always wanted. And, my God, some of the names you should have heard us throwing around in the past about people we'd like to have host a fangirl show. It's just, when I think about all of that and then hearing you guys, and now you've been at it for, a couple years with us now. It's just been amazing. So I'm so happy to finally make my way onto the show.
Well, we're glad to have you. It's been a long time coming. We've been trying to get schedules worked out, but, it's always one of those things. So we actually wanted to interview you because you always ask all the questions and get all the juicy answers. And so now it's time for you to answer some of ours.
Okay. Well, I got juicy answers, too. I have no idea what you're going to ask me.
Just the way we like it.
So, the pressure is really on me now to be juicy, and I'll try my hardest, guys.
You actually answered one of our questions already because
I did.
Oh, is that right?
It was like magic. I was like, why did we were going to ask, why did you want to have a show with fangirls? That was one of our questions, and I'm like, he's answering them. Is he reading our mind, or? Do you write up questions before you interview people, or do you just do it?
I used to years and years ago. And I just found it would just get in the way. It really would make the interview become more of a Q&A as opposed to a conversation. And I think that's really important to to do is have a conversation with your interview subject, not necessarily just run through a list of questions. So I threw that away. And I always go into an interview with at least some sort of notion as to where I want to go. But often I find the interview sort of just grows and evolves naturally, and it's a legit conversation. The thing I really liked about my last trip out to Lucasfilm, which was a couple weeks ago, was I sat down with Dave Filoni. And usually when we do these sit downs, we have microphones or there's cameras pointing at us, or there's always something indicating that we are recording. But the way we did it this time was we just placed a recorder in the middle of the room and just kicked back and had a conversation. And the conversation went on for 2 hours just to see where it would go. And there are certain moments in that conversation which are really revealing and natural and laid back. And that's what I like about having a conversation like that. It almost makes me wish I was in print media sometimes, because I know that's how like a lot of print interviews will go. And that way you can bring out some more natural reactions. You know, whenever you get behind a microphone and you can physically see that microphone in front of you, like I am right now, it always puts up some sort of barrier, because you know you're being recorded. You're staring right at the thing. Now, I do this a lot, and I'm behind a microphone a lot, so I'm used to it, and I try to forget it that it's there. But even right now, I'm still very much aware that we are recording a conversation. So when you have the recording apparatus away from you or just not noticeable, and you're just kicking back and talking, I think that brings out the best of any interview subject.
Yeah, I mean, I know some of my favorite, I guess, interviews, if you want to call them that, have always been the ones where I really felt like I made a connection with the person I was talking to, and that it was more of we were just friends kind of hanging out. Yeah. So do you have a favorite person that you like to sit down and talk to and, you know, guess interview? I'm doing the little quotey fingers.
Right. Well, the more you interview someone, the more you get to know them. And so we have like recurring people on Rebel Force Radio that we've gotten to know pretty well. And of course, Dave Filoni is one of them. But, you know, having conversations with guys like James Arnold Taylor, Ashley Eckstein, people we've had on the show a lot, people we've actually established relationships with, Daniel Logan. These are people we can just talk to. And that's what I like the best. Definitely Dave Filoni is a guy I really like talking to, because he gets it on a professional level as far as being a creator of Star Wars. He gets it on a fandom level because he is a fan himself. But he also has the gift of gab. And you ask him one question, and it's almost like you can turn your own microphone off, because he's just going to run with it forever. So that's what you look for in a good interview, is someone who will give you more than a yes or no answer. But for the most part, just about everyone we talk to, we're able to develop some level of chemistry with. And that's the main thing, I think, when you're talking to anyone, is try to present a little vulnerability with yourself. And in that way, you come off as being human. So the person you're talking to doesn't get all intimidated by any way, shape, or form. And you know, it's easy to talk about doing that. Actually executing it is a different thing. That comes more or less, I believe, with experience. But also, you know, when we're doing Star Wars podcasting, we're interviewing people about a subject matter that we are very passionate about. So sometimes the chemistry just creates itself within the subject matter, because you can bond over Star Wars with anyone. And a lot of the creatives who work in the Star Wars universe, especially in Star Wars animation, like Clone Wars and Rebels, these people, and the authors too, who work in the books, these people are fans to the core. So you can bond over that passion for Star Wars together. And that levels the playing field as far as an interview goes. And you get people more comfortable with talking about their careers and Star Wars, and revealing a little bit about their personalities along the way.
Yeah, that happened to me with Anthony Daniels, because he said I didn't ask the typical press questions. He's like, you actually know about Star Wars. So he just kept talking and talking. because he felt like I had some knowledge.
Oh, yeah. He'll call you out on that, too. Anthony Daniels will do that. But I totally know what you're talking about, Tricia, because the first time I really sat down and got to know Matthew Wood was in 2008. And I approached the conversation from more of a technical level. I wanted to know more about Matthew and his behind the scenes work at Skywalker Sound. And this is what Matthew does for a living. He's a professional sound designer and editor and mixer and creator. And the General Grievous thing, while it's on the forefront of people's minds because he's signing autographed 8x10s of General Grievous, I think he found it refreshing that I came at it from a different angle, which to me seemed like the most obvious angle because that's what Matthew does. He works as a sound designer. So I think he enjoyed talking more about sound design, and he realized that I was coming at it from a level of experience and a level of passion myself. So he fed off that a little bit, and that established a relationship I share with Matthew to this day, where he's a good friend of ours at RebelForce Radio and a super talented guy over at Skywalker Sound.
Now you are mentioning a lot of people that you interview. What would you say has been your most memorable interview?
Well, obviously, the time I talked to George Lucas, I remember every second of it. But, I mean, it was brief. It was brief, but it was long because I hung out with him for about an hour and a half. And we were in this press room at the Four Seasons Hotel in downtown Chicago. This is back in 2009, as the Gene Siskel Film Center was paying tribute to George with this big banquet and an onstage Q&A with Jon Favreau moderating. And so we hung out in this media room, and George worked his way through the line, and we all got a few minutes with George. It was myself and Chris Spice from sandtroopers.com, who is a buddy of mine who covers Star Wars here in the Chicago area. And we both somehow weaseled our way into this press line with George. We're there with CNN, ABC, NBC. I got clearance from Lucasfilm. I don't know about Chris Spice, okay? But I wasn't going to blow the whistle on him because, like I said, he's a friend of mine. But it was just an amazing experience. So I was happy Chris was there so I can share it on a fandom level with someone else. And so we interviewed Favreau. We interviewed people from the Gene Siskel Film Society. We interviewed this young man there who was there with a Make-A-Wish type program. And we interviewed him and made him feel like a superstar. And George was there with Melody Hobson. Lynn Hale was there. I became friends with Lynn Hale, who is the communications director for Lucasfilm, longtime executive at Lucasfilm, who's definitely worked very closely with George over the years. And she's a super person. And so I got to know her and George. And George worked his way down the media line. And there I am standing next to ABC. And he comes to me and I'm talking to him. But it was so cool because as he was walking up, I just felt calm. Like, yeah, there's George Lucas. I should be talking to him. Why the hell not? And so he worked his way through the line and we hung out with him a little bit in the room as he, met with the family that was there with, like I said, the kid who was there. And we took a lot of pictures and everything, and they opened the doors so the public could come in. And I saw these people. Some of them I actually know. And the way they approached Lucas as I was standing there with him, the autograph hounds is who I'm talking about. And they approached him with their side. They were just like predators. And I was standing right next to George, and I almost felt him like kind of deflate a little bit as it was happening, because you know how awkward those moments are for him. It's never been easy for George Lucas to get that sort of public adoration. So, but he signed for everyone. I was just standing there. Oh, look how nice it is. George Lucas is signing autographs for everyone. And then the fan in the back of my mind went,
I know. Why not? Why am
I not doing this?
I was like, George Lucas is signing autographs for everyone? What am I doing just standing here? So I ran over and I grabbed, they had these nice programs for the event, and he scribbled the GL on it. And so I scored. But I mean, the main thing to me was getting that one-on-one opportunity with him. And then we got to sit there in the banquet hall, and I had dinner at the table right next to George and Melody and their group. And then he went up on stage and was interviewed by Jon Favreau for about 45 minutes. It was really good. And then I got to meet George after that was over, and Favreau. And it was just a great night. So you can't ever forget those moments. And when I was out in San Francisco last week, and I went to Marin County and I hung out at Skywalker Ranch, I was dying to maybe get the opportunity to go to George's office and maybe talk to him for a few minutes. That was all completely deflated as my cell phone was lighting up that day with friends from Chicago who were spotting George Lucas on Michigan Avenue.
Oh, man.
I was like, wait a sec. He spends all of his time in Chicago now because Melody is here. She has him very involved in education in the Chicago area. There's a lot of controversy surrounding the Chicago public schools and all the crazy bureaucracy that's in charge of that and the politics. And he wants to build that George Lucas Museum of Narrative Art right on the lakeshore. So I hope that comes through. There's a lot of political backlash about that, but I think it's going to happen. And the thing is about George, he's a philanthropist. He is not asking for a dime for taxpayers. He's going to completely fund the entire museum, just like he does all of his projects out of his own pocket, $300 million, just so he could have his man cave there on Lake Michigan.
Well, Jimmy, I don't know if you know this. I think I've told you, but my husband's from Chicago. So I used to go up there all the time, but we haven't been up there in a while. So I keep telling him, we need to go up there because there's all this George Lucas stuff going on and everything else. So don't be surprised if you start seeing me up in Chicago some more.
Well, if they build that museum, I expect to see all of you guys up here. I'll take you on a personal tour of it, and we'll have a blast. If they should build this museum there, it's 20 minutes from my house. I would love to be involved in it in some way, shape, or form, like being a docent or something. My joke is I'm always thinking like marketing department, and the museum people are probably thinking basement snack bar. But,
But it would be the Admiral Akbar snack bar.
Oh.
And I give people their coffee and I say, it's a frap. F it, that's not even funny. Don't laugh. So, but I hope they build it. I hope they build that museum so we can all get together, have a fangirls day at the George Lucas Museum in downtown Chicago. That would be a blast.
Well, they have to build it because it's one of those things, right? If you build it, they will come.
Oh, it'd be good for tourism. It'd be just great for the economy here. It'd be located on the museum campus, which is surrounded by the Field Museum of Natural History, the Adler Planetarium, the Shedd Aquarium, Soldier Field. It's just an amazing area. It would just be so perfect. George needs to open up those archives there at Skywalker Ranch, empty them out, put all that stuff on display so the world could see it. And plus, he's got a huge collection, like the world's largest private collection of Norman Rockwell's. He definitely has the world's largest collection of international film posters, and he has so much great movie memorabilia. When you walk into the main house at Skywalker Ranch, some of the stuff you see on display is like Charlie Chaplin's hat. It's like, whoa. And
even Big Rock Ranch too has that feel. Like they have a whole bunch of memorabilia there. And the fact that, if you've been in Big Rock Ranch or the Skywalker Ranch, you know that like he spares no expense. Like it is just beautiful architecture, beautiful work. So I'm sure whatever building he's creating there in Chicago will be amazing.
Oh, I hope so. I hope it shares that sort of like idyllic atmosphere that promotes creativity. And that's something he's been able to cultivate at his ranches. Like you said, Big Rock Ranch has the film posters up on the walls and all this incredible little sculptures in the hallways and stuff. And Lucas would actually walk through the hallways and he would point at walls. He'd be like, yeah, put the Rockwell there. But it's just amazing to see all that on display at the Lucasfilm campuses. But really, it does, as Indiana Jones would say, it belongs in a museum. So hopefully they'll make this museum happen. Hopefully I could weasel my way in some sort of contributing fashion. And then you guys could come up. I could give you tours and it would just be a ball and be like, oh, look who's here today. George himself. George, come say hi to the fangirls. Hey, fangirls. Hey, fangirls. Flail. Whoa. You guys can
I want George Lucas to fangirl
No,
flail.
I think George Lucas would probably give the same reaction that Dave Filoni gave, right? When he was like, I don't flail.
Filoni turned for a flail, huh?
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
we had Ashley and Vanessa were flailing on the red carpet for us. So
there you go. Yeah, the only flailing Filoni does is when he's in the goalie net and he's wearing and then he's flailing a lot. But you know what? I'm glad you guys flail and you don't squee. I don't like the squee. I like the flail. When you want to get excited about something, I prefer the hashtag fangirl flail as opposed to that squee. I don't like the squee. Squee is a turnoff, and it sounds weird. Squee.
It's a weird word.
Yeah, squee is a weird word. And, squee is for, like, a one-dimension concert, okay? Flail is for Star Wars.
I have to admit, I've done both flail and squee at like Backstreet Boys concerts.
Trish showing her age.
I've never done. I have never gone to a boy band concert. See?
Oh, you haven't lived until.
No, well, when I was in high school, everybody else went to NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. No, this girl was at a Blink-182 show in Green Day.
What are you excited for? Like, are you excited for the novelization that's coming up or Aftermath?
Extremely so. Aftermath, not so much. Primarily because I do want to read that, and I'm going to read that. But the novelization is what's really sort of like, making me salivate, because I love that. It's just part of the process, and it's been going on since 1977. See the film, read the novelization, get a better understanding for the subject matter in the film. So when you go back to see the film, you might be understanding it on a different level. Going back, looking at The Phantom Menace, I started reading that novel the day after I saw the film, the day it was released. I saw the film twice in the theaters, went home, started reading the novel, had it done in less than 5 days. And it was illuminating to me because I didn't really get the chemistry. Listen, this is not, I'm not critiquing the prequels, but I'm just saying when I left it, I didn't really understand the chemistry between Anakin and Padme until I read the book. I think that helped me understand the fact that, yeah, she did have feelings for him. It didn't come out so obviously in the film, but there was a connection being made between the two of them that wasn't really necessarily there when you sat down and you were screening The Phantom Menace for the first time. So it sort of felt like the book was really helping me fill in the gaps. Plus, there was so much extra material in there. I think it sort of gave you a better idea of where Anakin Skywalker was coming from just prior to the release or just prior to the events of The Phantom Menace. So that's all part of the Star Wars fan process for me. I still have the original paperback novelization that was released December 1976. And I was going to Catholic school. I was probably in the 3rd grade, and I checked it out from the library, and I never returned it. Oh, yeah. So I hope God forgives, or at least the nuns from the Catholic school, if any of them are still alive, because they were all,
You better go say some Hail Marys.
Father, forgive me for I've sinned. What do you got there? Is that an original novelization of Star Wars with the McQuarrie cover? Yes, Father, it is. No, I don't think it's but I still have it, I snagged it just because of the cover art. I didn't know anything about Star Wars. On the back, it promises, soon to be released as a major motion picture from 20th Century Fox. And, it was just, that even didn't really mean so much. It was just that McQuarrie art of Vader on the front cover really just called to me. And I sat on that book. I think I lost it. It was found in my closet some months later, but I did read it cover to cover after I finally went to see Star Wars. And that summer of 77, it was just like the appetite was insatiable for other Star Wars material. And you would do anything to sort of, quench your thirst. Nowadays, we don't have to worry about that so much because it's going to be just a chore to keep up with the publishing that's coming out. But back then we didn't have much to go with. So the novelization became an important part of the process of understanding Star Wars and being a better fan, I say in quotes, because I think if you like anything, you're considered a fan of it. Whether or not your knowledge of what went into making it is huge. I mean, you can love a slice of pie, okay? But you have no idea how that pie was made. You're not even sure what all the ingredients are, but you love that pie and you can't get enough of that pie. That, to me, is like being a fan of Star Wars. As long as you like it, it doesn't matter what kind of IQ you have as a fan. You're a fan, just like all of us, because you like it. And there is always some sort of facet of Star Wars for any person to latch onto. There is a Star Wars for everyone. And I think that should be celebrated. Instead, it gets debated a lot, but I think that's something that should be celebrated. And I think people should take it on themselves individually as fans to latch onto the things they love and not worry about anything else. You don't like the prequels? Fine. The prequels are there, Simon Pegg.
Don't you think it's a little bit of, he's just doing it to get people riled up to talk about him?
I mean, so what you're saying, I'm his target audience here?
Maybe.
That could be so true. That could be so true. But I just can't let this kind of behavior go unchecked. And listen, Simon doesn't like the prequels. He has all the right in the world to hate the prequels with every bone, every ounce of his being. But to go out of his way to publicly insult people who have supported the Star Wars franchise for the past almost 20 years and considering the prequels to be their core, I don't know, man. That just rubs me the wrong way. It's great to have a civilized discussion and debate about what you liked about the Phantom Menace, what you hated about the Phantom Menace. I'm for that. I don't think those films are flawless, but they're important. And something that me and Swank have learned over all these years of talking into Star Wars into microphones is that what you may hate about Star Wars is going to be someone else's favorite thing about Star Wars. So you want to be tolerant. I'm not saying we should all walk around with duct tapes over our mouths and not express our opinions, but we shouldn't go out of our way to be insulting while doing so.
I agree. But hey, so you were talking about reading the novels and stuff after you go and see the movie. But so your status in fandom has kind of changed. Are you trying to stay away from anybody saying, hey, I know what the story to episode 7 is. Do you want to know before you go to the movie theater? Are you trying to stay away from all that, or do you already know?
From the moment they announced they were making a new Star Wars film and it was going to be released in 2015, I had told myself, spoiler heavy, let's do it. We're in this position where we need to know everything about Star Wars that's happening. I used to like to say, if it doesn't cross my desk, it's not happening in Star Wars. But that all changed the morning of April 16th, this past year, when we were in Anaheim, and that second trailer was screened during the Force Awakens panel that kicked off the entire event. We all watched that trailer a million times. And I think I turned to Swank and Paul Bateman right after that, and I said, guys, that's it. No more spoilers for me. I'm right where I want to be going into this thing. I've gone far enough. Let's just keep it all it's all kind of vague. I've been told things about The Force Awakens, mind-blowing things that I have completely forgotten about. And I won't think about it again until probably after I've seen the film. Oh yeah, I guess I did know that was going to happen. I'll be saying to myself, because I have flushed all the spoilers out of my head. I was walking around Lucasfilm last week making these proud pronouncements. I am spoiler free, because number one, Filoni always likes to lord things over me. You should see what I'm looking at here. And so how do you combat that? My response is always I don't want to see it. And I feel so much better now, not keeping up with all that stuff. I just feel like it'll be a much more natural experience going into the theater in December coming at it with mild spoilers, maybe, but not having, I don't want to have the whole movie spoiled for me. I've been seeing complete story synopsises being posted online, and you got to take that stuff with a grain of salt. I know once the novelization made its way through publishing, there might have been a few leaks here and there, and because that's a lot of eyes, a lot of different editors. I want to know. I don't want anything clouding my perception.
Let me ask you real quick then. I have a theory that people need spoilers. It's depends on their faith and trust in the process. Did you feel like when you saw, because when I had a lot of anxiety back in the book era when Legacy of the Force was coming out, I always had to get the spoilers because I was always anxious about what they were going to do because I didn't have a lot of trust in the storytelling. And I see a lot of people saying what you're saying once they saw something, they reached a point where they felt comfortable. Was that the moment you felt comfortable? You saw that trailer and you were like, I'm okay now?
No, I don't think I ever had any of those sort of hang-ups. I could understand with Legacy of the Force where you were coming from. Because that was a train wreck from book 1 to book 9. But I think that I've had a lot of faith going into this because I know Kathleen Kennedy is a fantastic producer. I know J.J. Abrams is a fantastic director. And I was appreciating a lot of the things I was hearing behind the scenes early on. Most notably, a quote that was given to J.J. Abrams saying that he told the creatives that he wanted it to feel like you just finished watching Return of the Jedi and this is the next tape you pop into the machine. When I heard it put in those terms, I was like, okay, I like where this is going. Not so much because I didn't like anything that the film industry has been doing lately with the overabundance of CGI. Excuse me, overabundance of CGI. It's just that, and I did like the feel of the prequels. When episode 1 came out, I felt like that sort of meshed almost seamlessly with the original trilogy with the appropriate updates for filmmaking in the late 90s. I felt like they did a great job with that. And then in the subsequent 2 films of the prequel trilogy, they just kept bringing the bar up higher and higher. And then now, and you know what? That tradition didn't stop once Revenge of the Sith came out. The special effects houses kept raising the bar higher and higher and higher with every big summertime special effects blockbuster that would come out. And they kept trying to one-up each other. And that's when I feel like the priority is more on the special effects than the story. You can have a good story with the special effects, but there are concessions that have to be made. If you have these giant sequences, they're obviously going to eat into character development. They're obviously going to eat into time devoted to plot, or you're going to try to shove it all into a 3-hour film. And quite honestly, I'm tired of sitting through those 3-hour films. I really am. I still feel like the Return of the King is still going on. I mean, I feel like I can go and turn on my DVD and it'll be like, oh, I haven't seen this scene yet. It's still going. But Attack of the Clones, that was, I think, the longest film. Was that the longest film in the Star Wars franchise time-wise? I think it was. I think it timed at like 2:23. I mean, you could have easily sliced 15 minutes out of that film. And I'm not talking full scenes. I'm just like cuts.
Where was George Lucas when you needed him?
Well, believe me, so many people were barking up his tree. And just the bottom line is George felt very comfortable with how it was all coming together. And he believed in he trusted his gut. And fair enough. I think he created monster pieces. Yikes. Masterpieces. with his telling of the origin stories of Obi-Wan, Darth Vader, the Emperor, C-3PO, R2. I mean, these are the origin stories. This is the stuff everyone wanted to know. Where did these characters come from? How did the galaxy on a whole find itself in the mess that it found itself in? And George's approach was very intelligent and well thought out and provocative, yet it went over a lot of people's heads. They didn't understand because he didn't make it so obvious. He wasn't beating people over the head by saying, this Palpatine guy, he's the puppet master. He's got this double identity. It's like, he wasn't being so obvious with it. I know it's hard for people to hear me say that in the year 2015, but upon people's first viewings of The Phantom Menace, friends of mine who grew up with Star Wars and understood Star Wars, they were saying, well, this Palpatine guy, I don't know. I think sooner or later he's going to have to answer to the Darth Sidious. And I was like, guys, it's the same.
It's the same damn guy.
You know what? The average fan doesn't necessarily realize that right away. And especially kids. It's not obvious. And Lucas took a subtle approach with the prequels that I think turned some people off. And then on the other side of the coin, he was so flippant in your face about certain things in the prequels. It was like, whoa, George, tone it down a little bit. So it was like, it was a difficult balancing act. He was juggling a lot, and maybe he should have opened up his ears a little bit and let others collaborate with him as opposed to just taking orders from him. And that's the reality of the prequels. It was George Lucas 1000%, and everyone answered to George. And the only reason Jar Jar Binks wasn't featured so much in episodes 2 and 3 is because Lucas actually did listen to the backlash that happened. He didn't need focus groups telling him. He didn't need people taking surveys telling him. He just paid attention to the pulse of the pop culture consumer, which was a little bit anti-Jar Jar Binks, a little bit. That's an understatement. But, obviously kids loved him. I wasn't never really offended by Jar Jar Binks. But the thing about Jar Jar Binks is he lacked character development. And that's what hurt the character and the film. By the end of the film, George having Jar Jar Binks on the war field, on the battlefield, doing all that Charlie Chaplin stuff, just really diminished the seriousness of the moment and the eventual impact of the conflict itself.
It's one of the best things to watch to understand what they were going through is the making of before the episode 1 on the DVD. That when they're talking about making Jar Jar and all the things he was trying to do while he was making the movie, and you could see how there were so many things pulling him in different directions as a director. Just budget and story and set pieces.
It was a revolutionary technology for the time. I mean, there was no lead character in motion pictures ever that was completely computer graphics. I mean, I'm hard pressed to think of a lead character in any film prior to The Phantom Menace that was completely CGI. Nowadays, it's just commonplace. And we're going to be seeing it in The Force Awakens, too, regardless of this argument that it's all going back to basics. It's going to be real models, real props, real sets. Yes, that is going to be the case, but we're also going to see technology in this new film that's going to blow us away. Gosh, I mean, really, just how many days do we have left, guys? It's going to be a long wait, but I can't wait to see how it all comes out. Early reports about this film are just through the roof, and people who have worked on it creatively, people who worked on it behind the scenes, people who just have some sort of close knowledge as to how the process is going. Everyone is just singing praises. I mean, look at Harrison Ford. He's pumped for this film.
He is. So from now until the movie and then beyond, you will be podcasting about this.
Yes.
And
I think from tonight until the movie comes out, I'm going to be podcasting.
You're going to be podcasting.
Just sitting here talking to you guys, I find myself getting all pumped up and stuff. And I'm like, maybe.
I'm getting pumped up too. So we'll have to have some type of Rebel Force Radio family watching at some point. So.
That would be fun. That would be
fun. So thank you so much for taking your time though and getting us extra pumped up. Not that we weren't already. I might flail, but
definitely flail. Don't
squee.
No. Flail is greater than squee. Let's make that official.
You squee about Disney things, we flail about Star Wars things.
There you go. Or Backstreet.
There we go.
Or Backstreet. Yes.
One dimension. So, but, I mean, you guys are doing just such a great job. The feedback for Fangirls has just been incredible. And you guys have really just raised the profile, I think, of Fangirls within the Star Wars fan community. When I was a Star Wars fan growing up, it was always feeling like it was a boys' club. and it's great to see that girls have a platform like Fangirls Going Rogue to really get the message out there and to appeal to female fans. Nowadays, when I think of Star Wars fandom, to think of anything going forward in the Star Wars universe without the prevalence of fangirls is just a completely foreign notion to me now. You guys have really said it loud and said it proud and made it known to the world that there's Star Wars for boys and girls, and it's something that should be shared and not exclusive in any way, shape, or form. And I think that's really a strong message to send as we're approaching this new era of Star Wars films, a new film coming out each and every year. I think it's important to let young girls know that, hey, this is something that might be really appealing to boys, but it's definitely something you should never, ever feel weird about participating in or being passionate about. Like I said, say it loud and say it proud, and support Star Wars and get in on the fun, because that's all it is. It's fun. It's non-exclusive. It's for everyone. There is a Star Wars for everyone, regardless of sex, regardless of race, regardless of background. There is always Star Wars for everyone. And that's an important message you guys are sending. And I'm so happy that you can use RebelForce Radio as the platform.
Sidious, Anakin, Luke and Leia, Qui-Gon Jinn, C.O. Bibble, Kylo Ren, Salacious Crumb, Bib Fortuna, Boba Fett, Amidala, Wicket, R2-D2, BB-8, I can barely keep it straight. It's a character discussion. It's the Fangirls on character. It's a character discussion.
Mike Cooper on 1138. Do you guys read that blog ever?
I don't read blogs right now. I'm scared of them. I don't know what they're going to say.
I have not read this one yet. No.
You have not this one.
I read yours.
Well, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I can trust your site. I don't trust anyone else.
Oh, are you worried about spoilers?
I don't.
Oh, yeah.
I don't trust people in this internet day and age of let's just share everything.
Yeah, sometimes, but pretty much the people now are putting spoiler warnings or trying, although sometimes their headlines, a little people could be a little more. Anyway, 1138 doesn't do too much spoiler stuff. They do opinion pieces, and Mike Cooper has this one called The Parody Problem, or Why Padme is the Best Character in the Prequels. And essentially, the long and short of the article, it's a very good article, we'll have a link in the show notes, is that Padme is the best character because she's essentially the only female character in the prequels, and at least one that matters. So we have been talking for a while about, what characters we're going to talk about. And I said, hey, after I'd seen this, I was like, can we talk about Sabe and Dorme? Because they're two of my favorite handmaiden characters. And so they were obligingly, Sarah and Tricia, like, okay, we can talk about them. Because after this, we're going to be talking about Star Wars Rebels characters I know, and Star Wars Force Awakens and Rogue One characters. But I want to talk about the handmaidens because I do not want them to be forgotten. And sometimes I think they are. And so much so that even in Mike Cooper's post where this guy knows his lore. He's essentially like, well, that's it. That's Padme's it. And we forget about how great, and this might be because of where the Phantom Menace sits in fandom mentality sometimes, is there were so many great characters in the Phantom Menace, and Sabe being one of them. She had a lot of lines, and she was, Keira Knightley. Now we think about her as an actress and the role she's played. So were you guys fans of Sabe? Were you confused about who she was? Because I remember the first time I saw the movie, I was like, I didn't get it.
Well, I was like 14 when this came out, so I was like, wait, what? Huh? And then, Pirates of the Caribbean comes out, and I'm like, no, what? Like, that was me for a good long time.
Yeah, and they're they're not very similar in height, so they apparently had to do some good costume trickery there to make it work so that and the way they looked, so they did look the same or similar height. But facially, they are so very similar, especially in the Queen makeup, and you think about it, the character Sabe was essentially going out there and playing the part as a queen so that if something were to happen to the queen, she wouldn't die. And that comes out later on, where we do see one of the handmaidens essentially assassinated, playing the part of the queen or the senator at that point. So, you realize that sometimes you think about Naboo and you just think about that fact that they had women who were playing the part of the queen. There was enough maybe intrigue and drama in their society that they had to double up to make sure their leaders were safe. Does it ever strike you that it was that dramatic, that dangerous to be the queen in the movie, or is it just something that they didn't really hit it home hard enough?
I think I always just kind of understood that in her situation, it was very dangerous for her to be out in the open and for it to be her. And I think once we figured out that, she does have a body double, I thought it was just really, really cool. Although there's this one part when she steps forward and says, no, I am, the queen, blah, blah, blah. And she stands kind of funny. She doesn't stand with her legs right next to each other. They're kind of spread apart. I was like, are you bracing for something? What are you doing?
That was her affirmative stance.
Yeah. So, it's really, I think I always just kind of understood that it was dangerous. They made that pretty clear, at least to me.
I mean, our president doesn't even he doesn't have a body double that walks around just in case.
That's true.
That's pretty, it says something about Naboo without saying anything about Naboo, I think. Mm-hmm. That they would have to, it's kind of crazy that they have 14-year-olds in charge too.
Yeah, that's what always struck me, is why choose someone so young? Why does that even make any sense?
But you have to think that, so they not only did, in this battle of Theed, not only did Queen Amidala take a role, that she also expected Sabe and her group to take a role and hit their mark, because they needed both of them to hit their marks to dupe Newt Gunray. But George Lucas had set up the system where there were all these powerfully skilled, well-trained women in the Phantom Menace, and then by the time you get to Attack of the Clones, we don't see Sabe anymore. We see handmaidens, obviously. Padme's not queen anymore, but there's these, she still has handmaidens and attendants, and we see Dorme as her confidant, who's Rose Byrne, also now a very famous actress, and she has speaking lines. But it's interesting, even when I was going through and doing Ultimate Star Wars, when we got the character breakdowns, these are characters with major speaking roles played by famous actresses who literally were getting less coverage than some of the background characters that didn't have any lines in the original trilogy. And I thought that kind of was interesting, what it says about how maybe these characters have been under prioritized and how important they were in the story, and that they kind of got forgotten.
Yeah, these characters they're actually more important than we give them credit for. And I think that's one of the reasons that we like them so much. I have always been kind of bummed because Dorme didn't get enough time. And also, I feel like there was more body doubles than just Sabe and Dorme. Were there?
Yes.
Okay.
There were.
So these were just the two that got kind of highlighted, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But it always sort of bothered me that Dorme, she was there for a split second and then done. Mm-hmm. And then they say, oh, well, she served her purpose. And I'm like, really, dude? That was her purpose? That's it? That sucks.
Aww.
I do not want to be a body double.
But, and there were a lot of young women who were fans of course, everybody liked to ship people with everybody back then in the prequel trilogy era. So Sabe and Dorme, a lot of people loved to put them with Obi-Wan Kenobi, which was he got to have all the girls in fan fiction. And then in the Clone Wars. So Obi-Wan, he's like the dude. He's like the player of Star Wars.
That's so odd.
Well, it's the forbidden fruit, right?
I guess, but his character is so, dry and I don't know.
It's the forbidden. I'm telling you, everybody shipped somebody with. But so, all right, Teresa, I'm going to do it to you. I'm going to speculate. So, if we had a, you saw Ewan McGregor, right? He answered the question on Twitter, and he said, "No, I haven't been asked, but I would do a movie in a heartbeat." So, what if you get Keira Knightley and Rose Byrne and Ewan McGregor, and you team them up in a movie?
That would be awesome.
See? What am I saying? And I don't even want them to ship them because I know a lot of people would want them to ship them. I just want to see Keira Knightley like whooping some butt like the handmaiden training that she is, and Rose Byrne too, because I think that would be amazing. So that's my pitch for a Star Wars movie.
Hey, Ewan McGregor in anything, I'm down.
See, I'll take Ewan McGregor in anything. I don't know.
I think it would be really cool to see the handmaidens come back.
I would like to see the handmaidens come back, but it's almost like, how do you do that?
Yeah, what capacity would they come back?
Here's the easy. They take Sabe, and that's actually been in a role-playing game. They suggested that Sabe took over as Leia's guardian after Padme died, and is actually the person who trained her. That's why she knows how to shoot stormtroopers so well, because everybody else.
Oh, that'd be so cool. See, I didn't even know to think of that.
Yeah, so then, maybe Leia gets kidnapped. Sabe's got to go save her. Obi-Wan, hey, dude, this is really bad because we cannot have Vader getting hold of Leia. Or, he might come out of hiding for something like that, just for one mission. But see, I even thought about that part.
Well, I like that. I want to see that movie.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan comes and checks up on them, and they have kind of this unwritten chemistry, but nothing comes of it. But it's fun to watch.
Yes, exactly. But fun to watch.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the way Rogue Nation thank goodness that movie's out, because now we'll finally get Rogue One stuff. But Rogue Nation Mission Impossible there was chemistry, but there was never anything romantic. And I liked it that way. I just liked it that, she was that. Rebecca Ferguson, put her in a Star Wars movie too. Man, oh my gosh. She can kick some butt. Well, there you go. So did we talk enough Star Wars?
I think we did.
I think so. I think we went over time a little bit.
That's
we did. That's okay. We always do that. Well, that wraps up another month of Fangirls Going Rogue. Next month, goodness, we are going to have so much to talk about.
Woohoo!
But you can follow us in between now and then. Follow Fangirls Going Rogue on Twitter at FG Going Rogue. You can follow Tricia at Fangirl Cantina. Sarah is at JediTink, and I am the Ice Cold Penguin.
You can email us at fangirlsgoingrogue@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook. Look for Fangirls Going Rogue. Tumblr, fangirlsgoingrogue.tumblr.com.
And on Instagram, we are at FG Going Rogue. And if you want to leave us a voicemail, we haven't got one of those in a while. So you can call 331-21-EWOKS, which is also known as 331-213-9657.
Please go like Rebel Force Radio on iTunes and leave a positive review. And in your review, mention how much you like Fangirls Going Rogue. Fangirl flail.
Ooh,
flail.
That's right. And what did we come up with Jimmy? Say it loud.
Say it proud. Fangirl flail.
Yeah. And then we can also say, until next time. Da 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 da.
Yub.
Yub.